Well, here we have a blank canvas. I'm going to get started in just a second. I'm going to paint a winter scene today. Be somewhat monochrome, lots of grays. Already worked in some additional linseed oil into my titanium white. And I have some Payne's gray, and I'm going to work out a couple different piles of gray. This is a very gray scene. Way back in 2009, I was commuting into New Jersey every day. Worked for New York Life Investment Management, which became New York Life Retirement Services, and go all the way from here in Northeast Pennsylvania to North Central New Jersey, Morris County. And my wife would always make fun of me because I would drive in no matter what the weather circumstances were. But on this day, we got hit with what I would call a surprise snowstorm. Not too many people expected it. I don't think anybody forecasted the intensity that we got hit with. There were accidents all over the place on Route 80 and throughout New Jersey and Pennsylvania reported. So my natural inclination was to try and go into the office, and if the road conditions were as bad as they seemed, I would turn around and come home. Nobody believed me. And I, in fact, did exactly what I said I was going to do. I got out on the road and then realized how treacherous it was and turned around and came back. And when I turned around, I was real close to our neighborhood here. And I just saw a really wonderful scene, which consisted of all that freshly fallen snow and snow still coming down quite hard. The road was covered, and the little gate that we have that greets you when you come into our community here was completely covered in snow, and holiday decorations were on. It was New Year's Eve day. I planned on going in for, a half day or so. And I just thought it was a great scene. I snapped a picture of it. Unfortunately, I took that picture with, at that time, I guess it could have been state of the art. It was my BlackBerry, my work issued BlackBerry. So get some more linseed oil on here. I mixed up my initial palette here, which is all grays, mostly cool grays. There'll be some warm grays in here. I'm just going to draw it first. Very little color and a lot of gray. But there will be a little bit of color off in this area where the bend in the road, the outside bend in the road is going to form, and there'll be a little indication of a wreath with like that. And I actually probably am not going to do a lot of talking because I have to do quite a bit of thinking here. Painting partially from imagination and that's more like it. Okay. All right, so this little road is where we live is Pocahontas. It's the name of the road. It bends around, and I stopped right in the middle of the road on my way back and snapped this picture. And I mean, this snowstorm came out of nowhere. There's a tree here. I don't even know if the tree is still there. I think it got hit so many times that it might not be there anymore. Might have fallen over. And then a little architectural detail here. We call it the guard booth, but this is not a gated community we live in. It's just kind of a place where the security guard and other officials will just hang out for the most part. And well, I'm putting in some guide marks here, and they look like harsh lines. If I do this right, this painting, there are not going to be very many lines at all. It's going to be a very soft painting. Once I get going here, I'll switch to a much larger brush. This is where a little bit of dazzle will come in with this wreath. Later on, it'll be one of the last things that I do. Something like that. This will come up. There's a little bit of a hill there. What'll start happening is there'll be all kinds of trees in the background here. And we're going to fill all that in. Most of them will go off canvas. And okay, just gonna get that. Make sure that. And real important here is the shapes that I end up forming in that background. Yeah, that's a quick sketch. Okay. Find a nice big, yeah, at least 1-inch brush would be perfect. Let's see, this brush is ruined. I might as well just throw that one out, but let's see. Ooh, this might be a good one. This is a 2-inch brush. I gotta clean it a little bit here. It's got some warm paint in there, some yellow ochre. I have about 2 hours to paint here before I have other obligations I need to tend to. So I'm going to try and get as much in as I can. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go crazy with this darker gray right now. And from here, the painting will lighten up. But there's a big tree that comes up here like this and like this. And don't worry, it's going to look like I'm ruining the painting or the drawing. It's totally okay. It's actually not dark enough. I'll have to work to darken that a little more. But this is really what I wanted to tend to here. Just wanted to fill in this space a little bit. That's it. Good. It's okay. All right. This looks like a charcoal pencil drawing. Real loose at this point in time, which is fine. I'm probably going to find a nice 1-inch brush. I can. All right, here we go. This might work. I think I prefer filbert, but let's start with a flat brush. This is kind of beat up. It's a beat up old brush. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Good. At this point, I just want to work to get the canvas covered as quickly as possible. And when I say canvas, I use that term loosely. This is actually a handmade board panel, birch plywood, sanded, a couple coats of gesso, sanded again. It was cut down to this specific size to fit a custom frame that I purchased at a flea market. And we're going to go ahead and use it for this painting here. I'll darken this a little bit. That paint's getting dangerously thick. I'll probably wipe quite a bit of that off. I want to be real loose at this point. Get that canvas covered. All right. I'm trying to remember back to that day. I think at this point, I may have even called home and said, "Hey, I'm coming home." Probably shocked the heck out of my wife. It was at a point where I was really committed to, being there for my teammates, and was just in a team environment where we kind of relied upon each other. And I was also getting a lot of promotions, so wanted to constantly prove myself. There we go. I'm going to darken this a little bit. And then make sure that this doesn't get washed out too much. There are some trees in the background that kind of go off on an angle. We don't want to lose that. All right, good. There you have it. All right, so now we're going to start trying to accomplish some interesting things. We're going to wipe a lot of this with paper towel or shop towel and oil. So I'm actually going to get a whole new styrofoam palette here. I know it's not very ecologically friendly, but I have to pick my battles. Do have the desire to do the right thing there, but I also have limited time. So, and if it comes between not being able to have creative time, if that's the choice, it's just one of those things. It's almost like being a runner where you have to fight against inertia. So you have your sneakers ready and maybe you go to bed with your running clothes on. We kind of have to do the same thing here. All right. So we're just going to keep working our way around. Yeah, we're just making a mess of things right now. And this is going to be very monochromatic. Because I don't want to leave the road. I don't want to leave any uncovered white on that road. And in the background, blur it. I'm just going to do the same thing, and I'll come back with my shop towel and wipe it. All right, good. I have almost the whole canvas covered with some shade of gray. Make a mess. Just using the edges of the paper towel at this point. Just looking to create lines. There's the texture that's already part of the panel. At this point, we really just want to create a mess of things. And then what will happen is we'll pick our focus area. And I think generally speaking, it's going to be right here. We're going to try and create this aura of everything being blurred out by falling snow and create the illusion of there being some details. Put some oil on here. It's going to work away. Right here, and if I can't get it off, no big deal. We'll come back with the really light gray later on. That's more like it. All right. I think I want it a little more densely kind of concentrated gray here. And definitely want a few more streaks of gray there. I might add a little yellow ochre or some other warmer color. This is actually pretty good. I know it's kind of a weird angle. Not much I could do with the limited space here. All right. So I'm going to come through with some of the more of the darker gray, but with a round brush, I think. About a round brush. Oh, there we go. This is even better. And before I'm fighting that urge to, jump into the detailed work with the lighter color to give indications of those indications of the highlights in the snow. I'm really fighting the urge. It's probably can get away with it at this point, but I really want to solidify the feeling of the painting first. And create some of the this is kind of a gnarly tree here, and it's a little too perfect right now, but we'll fix that. Right now I have a little mixture of burnt umber in there, so it warmed it up, and you can see how by virtue of the fact that this is a darker color and by virtue of the fact that it's a warmer color, atmospheric perspective, it pulled it forward a little bit. We're going to want to take advantage of that. Almost looks like a chart. So funny. It looks like a charcoal drawing. Quite frankly, I don't think I've ever painted this way. Maybe in high school. And I'm just going to wipe this brush a little bit. We're going to warm it up a little more, lighten it up a little more. Yellow ochre. Put it on a separate palette though. Yeah, up here in the Northeast, when we create that little cocktail of salt and chemicals and whatnot to treat the roads, yeah, sometimes we'll have a bluish tinge to it, but oftentimes, especially if the snow's been around for a while and you're scraping up layers of snow from prior snowfalls, you'll see it'll have a yellowish gray tint, and that definitely is the case here. You know, and we'll soften this quite a bit, but and conveniently that'll also help pull the foreground forward a little bit. Yeah, we're going to see quite a bit of it kind of all slopped up here. See more evidence of it in here. Probably spray it up. And a little less here. And I'll make sure to make that as level as possible. I think that'll be important. Now what I'll do is I'm going to wipe this same brush, just get as much of the paint out of it as I can, and I'm going to come back with some lighter gray. And make some adjustments. And create some more textures. If we knock out some of those existing lines, that's fine. Break some of those lines, that's fine. All right. Kind of like where we are right now. Uncharted waters for me. I'm kind of playing right now. I have not done this kind of scene. We'll put some of the mid-tone kind of colors. And this is not white, it's gray. And I have a similar little ribbon here, which I'll fix up. I have some there. Okay. It's funny, if you hear some munching in the background, that's actually our little dog. I wish I could show you. I wish there was a way I could show you, but she's sitting in a pouch kind of on my back. Let's see if I can do this without getting paint on me. Let's see. Or on her. Holly, say hi. There she is. Kind of funny. And she was whining a little bit, so I figured just keep her in there and get my painting in. Otherwise, this day would pass. It's been quite a few days since I've had an opportunity to kind of get in front of the easel, so just don't want too many days to pass where I don't. Before you know it, a couple days turns into a couple weeks turns into a couple months, and all the gains that you make as a painter, as an artist, all the confidence that gets depleted a little bit. All right. So let's see if I can find a nice clean brush. Let's see. That one has some paint in it, but you know what? It's dry. This might soften that even more in the background there. Instead of adding more paint, that might be the way to go. Yep. All right, I think I have a good sketch. Now, there'll be little things that I have to add in, some definition to some of the trees, some definition to the booth, some more midtones, and then finally the highlights. And what I might do too is this might require, in order to push the background back as far as I wanted to and to kind of create a haze, I might have to come back after it's dry, but we'll see. We'll see how far we can get. It's actually not too bad. Just trying to soften that a little more. There might be 2 or 3 areas where there's sharp definition. It might be in the extreme foreground here, right here, where the wreath is going to be located, and then a couple of the trees, probably these 2 mostly. We want everything to be kind of blurry and soft. It's going to be what I would call a soft painting. Let's see if I can find. Let's see. There's a nice clean brush and soften it even more. Yeah, I don't want to soften the road too much because then it'll look like maybe we're dealing with a reflection in the water or something like that. But we don't want any hard lines in that background there. We want this to be just a soft, random grouping of striations. And I'll add some shapes in the background there that are lighter. I have to add a little gray in there. And we're good to go. Quick time check. 1:25. Okay, close to an hour. Yeah, right now it's around 1:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I took a vacation day in order to do some preparations for the holidays. Yet I still had some work I needed to tend to. A very busy time of year at work. And almost didn't do this, but I'm glad I did. Okay. All right. Let's go with this brush. As much of a peanut there as possible. Excuse me. Scarf my lunch down real quick. Probably a mistake. You know what I'm noticing? This area here is a little too light. So we are going to go back to those grays and I'm trying to use this flat brush here. I'm going to bring out any of the existing paint that might be in there. And I'm going to use this to build some layers and some very select definition. But, you know, this. I realized too, what's interesting about this is there's another gable that comes up like this, and I almost thought maybe I'll leave it out, but I think it's an important feature. There you go. You know, this gable, that gable. I'm going to darken it a little bit. And we're just going to continue to make a mess in select areas. Not to the point where, not anywhere near where we're going to be putting the finishing touches. This definitely got too saturated. The color intensity is just a little too high. I'm gonna knock that back a little bit. The rest of it's okay, but I'm gonna wipe some paint off. Use some of the crinkles here to my advantage. Maybe start creating the illusion of detail on the stone. There is some stone pillars here. Here. No stone here, but a few too many sharp edges. There you go. Okay. What I can do is at this point I can widen this tree. This tree is a much kind of older, more developed tree. And in real life, I don't know if it curves in that way, but I'm going to do that anyway. For the purposes of hopefully elevating the painting a little bit. Kind of forcing the eye to bend in and look toward the focal point, which is again going to be here, the main focal point. Yeah, right on. 40 minutes in. Okay. I'm going to take the same darker color and I'm not going to go crazy, but I am going to, just in select areas, and use it to build layers. Maybe darken this whole area here a little bit. All right. Cool. All right, feeling good. All right, so now what I'm going to do is not quite going to focus on this yet. I am going to put some brighter midtones though. Again, building up layers for the snow. Part of me wants to use this brush. I always like to resist the urge to go to a smaller brush and start laying in a lot of fine detail. So I'm going to stick with this brush, and I'm going to go with a lighter gray here. If you looked at this compared to like a jet black, it would almost look white, but it's not. It's really a light gray. And there might be spots where I get, oops, that should be a straight line. I'll fix that, no problem. Spots here. Break some of this up. Probably come through like this. Here's where I'm going to start slowing down. You know, I'm about halfway through, I would guess, barring any major change in direction or any mistake. Yeah, I'm going to come through and again, once again, soften, just soften ever so lightly. Particularly in the background. Some of this is with the intention of creating the illusion of depth and perspective. Some of it is to help with the indication that the snow is still coming down at this point. And if you've ever been in a snowstorm, you know, sometimes the visibility could be negatively impacted a little bit. That's kind of what we had going on here. Whoops, that's okay. We'll fix that. And there's a couple things that we'll do once this dries too to soften it even more. We're definitely going to have to come back and do some glazing, and I think in order to get the final, oops, got a little brush hair there. In order to get the final kind of result we're looking for with this one, We'll see. There's no hard, fast rules here that we're too worried about. All right. Just playing. Excuse me. I am fighting off a cold. Man, I was sick in a bad way last Sunday into Monday. Actually, last Saturday was the worst day. Spent the whole day laying down. Hasn't happened to me in a few years. All right. At the same time, while I'm smoothing stuff out and creating those soft edges, I'm also going to work to break up some of the stuff too. I'm kind of just going on feel at this point. All right. I'm going to cave in here and go to a smaller brush in just a second. I'm just going to work in some of this lighter gray. I want to say I pulled this too far forward. It's just a little too saturated, a little too intense, consistently intense with this dark color. And the fact of the matter is, in this scene, the snow is still falling. So I want to obscure the view, the intensity a little bit with these bigger trees that are closer to the foreground. I want them to stand out, but not. I'll fix that root system. I think I knocked this back pretty good. All right. Good. We're coming on an hour, and now I am going to stick to my guns here, and I'm going to start grabbing some of the finer brushes here. Still using a round brush. Want to avoid a flat brush here. I don't want to create sharp edges. There'll be a few. Very selective. And dip into some of that lighter gray. Get that on the brush. And we're going to reestablish some of this here. There we go. And then the snow was falling so hard that day. We definitely had snow piling up on all the little ledges and edges. And I think it stopped almost as fast as it started. Those few hours where it snowed, it was pretty dangerous. put some more of this lighter gray here. And there's going to be a lot more highlights. We're holding off. There's a little ridge here that had some snow beaded up on it. There's mountains of snow here. But we'll get some of it in. Not all of it. So. Thank you, Stuart Davies, for sharing that little tidbit about getting brush hairs off of your painting. What I just did there, that's definitely your trick. At least I learned it from you. All right. So we've been pushing grays around for a while, and that's kind of fun. Most of my oil paintings, I try to have some intense colors to them. And this one, it's not going to have much of that. I'm going to get some of the gray, this lighter gray in, but I'm just trying to create a straight line. What I'm going to do is work by dappling it a little bit here. There we go. Just a little bit. Now, I think I might do now is start working on building in the illusion of a little bit of luminosity and shape around where that wreath exists. I think probably the best way for me to do that is to start by wiping some paint away. Uh-oh. Getting low on my shop towels. I'm gonna have to open up another batch soon. So let's see. Let's see if I can do this. Hopefully it's not too dry. And we want this to be, oh yeah. Not perfectly front facing, but a slight angle. I don't want it to be perfectly round either. While I have this, use it for this too. Soften some of that. Vary some of the texture here and there. Cool. So right there. That's fine. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is mix up a little bit of green. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow. I'm going to try and get this, the warmth and the colorization of that reef to draw your attention there. We'll see. We'll see if it works or not. I don't know if I have any sap green around. I don't know. I have a so slight, small amount of it. It was weird the way the snow was coming down this day. That reef, the lights in the reef, and the reef itself, the evergreens in the reef itself, it seemed to be the only color in the scene. Kind of strange. All right. So let's see. Do no. Probably should start with the green. And it should not be intense at all. A mixture of yellow ochre and sap green and some oil. Yeah, we're just gonna that's all right. We got a little of that in. I'll probably wipe it away a little bit. Not probably, we will. Okay. I'm gonna put a little bit more of an intense green in there. Still thin. Just less yellow ochre. Put it away. Now, some yellow. This is cad yellow. It's going to green a little bit just by virtue of running up against these other colors, but some of that in there. We'll even get a little bit of red in there, I think. Yeah, it's going to be a fast little painting. I mean, we're almost done. I'm going to etch in little bits of darker hues and stuff in select areas, but we're almost done here. Yeah, we'll get some of this in the darker area too, because the light would reflect. Probably makes no sense, but we're going to put some of it here, there, and then the tree. Soften some of these edges. Here. Here. There we go. That's pretty much it. Might be all I'm going to do today, other than some preliminary highlights. Let's see. Let's brush a little bit from here. Soften some of this. Yeah, some of this. columns are stone, so I don't want there to be the appearance of too much of a solid continuous structure. I want there to be some breaks and incongruencies there. There you go. And maybe really rough that up back there. Oops, that's okay. Fix that. All right. Fix all this up here. And then one thing I do need to darken is just need to get this a little darker because this is where one of the darkest shadows is actually going to reside. Okay. I think that might be it. At least for now. We're about an hour and 15 minutes in. And whoops, there we go. Try and get a better angle. It's not working, but there you go. You get the general idea, the general gist. Snowy day, turned around, roads are bad, turned around, came back home. And I might spend some time pushing background back a little bit. I was going to adjust this. I don't like the way that line started a little too intensely coming across. There we go. bit. There might be some things I'll do after this dries. Push that back a little bit and really enhance the feeling that hard snow is coming down. Well, thanks for joining. I wish you a safe and happy holiday season and a happy new year. Hopefully 2022 is a good one. Take care.